All right, Eagle Nation. I'm at a loss of words. Wow. How did they get that done? How did they pull through? The Philadelphia Eagles pull off the improbable in a game that felt like a slow, painful death, and they end up finding Dallas Goedert for 61 yards on pretty much a desperation play, a final chance, one of your last two shots to just try to move the ball downfield, and they get all the way down to the 4-yard line, punch it in, score a touchdown, and somehow, some way, they pull off an improbable comeback and beat the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans in front of a tough crowd, and pretty much, I would say, salvage their season. We have a lot to talk about in terms of where this team needs to improve. We have a lot to get into. I have a lot to say. We're going to grill a lot of people today. But we just have to realize that the Eagles just won a game that was pretty much impossible. I don't understand how they won that football game. It's hard to really feel happy, but it's also hard to really feel sad and mad. It doesn't make sense. The Eagles games should not go like this. I mean, this felt like an obituary. It really did. It really did. And they somehow win. The Eagles make no sense. That is my overall conclusion, foregone for the 2024 Eagles, okay? They make no sense. They make absolutely no sense. That's it. They make no sense. The show is over. There's not much else to say. How did the Eagles win this football game? Reed Blankenship seals it with a late interception on the final drive. Derek Carr throws it into no man's land, and it is picked by Reed Blankenship. We're going to talk about it all. Welcome into A to Z Philly postgame live here on the show presented by BetMGM. Shout out to the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts. Give me your instant reactions there in the chat. I can't believe they won this football game. And I was getting ready to, unleash on how this team is done and how somebody needs to be fired and this and that. But somehow they find it deep down within to pull out a final touchdown and win this game. Yes, the Saints had a miscommunication. Looked like Lattimore ran into somebody and it left Goedert wide open. And it pretty much a 60-yard free play as he runs all the way down the sideline. But I don't know. I'm trying to digest this. I don't know how to digest this because it was such an ugly game. It was one of the ugliest games I've ever seen. And they win. It feels like the Saints got eagled from last week. It feels like they got eagled. The Saints had the game in hand. It was over. They make one more stop. It's over. And now they are 2-1, probably scratching their heads, questioning if they're even a good team because the Saints offense didn't look anything of the part that it did the last few weeks. If the Eagles had lost this game and given up 30 points, I would have said, okay, I expected that to happen. This game was the complete opposite of what I expected from the Philadelphia Eagles, and yet they come away with a win. So what I will say is that the Eagles just saved a chance, a sliver at this season by the way that they played down at the end of the fourth quarter there, and winning this game completely transforms things, right? If you go 1-2 and you're heading into Tampa Bay, you're not feeling good, especially after this game today, but they pull it off. They're 2-1, and they save all of us. All right, we wipe some sweat off our forehead from going, whew, this season might be over already. So we have a lot to talk about. Welcome into the show. Once again, A to Z Philly postgame live, presented by BetMGM. Ladies and gentlemen, before we dive into all of it, because I have a lot to say, be sure to like the show. Wherever you're at, be sure to like it, share it. All right, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're growing over there. Thank you for being a part of this every week. Give me one word in the chat right now. We're going to start off with one word, okay? One word in the chat to describe how you are feeling after that Eagles game against the New Orleans Saints. I can't believe they pulled it off and won, to be quite honest with you. I can't believe they won this game. One word in the chat right now to describe this game. One word for me personally would be puzzled. Puzzled. I'm puzzled. I don't know what to think about this team. I don't know how they pulled off a win. I don't know how they even got it done. Are the Saints just garbage? Are the Eagles, do they have a little bit left of fight deep down? Do they care about these coaches? Do they believe in what they're doing? I don't know. Unreal, man. Absolutely unreal. Give me one word in the chat to describe this game, and we're going to hop into it here in just a second. I'm going to read out some of your words. I do got a shout out to our sponsor of today's show, BetMGM. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up with our code ATOZPA. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet when you register with BetMGM. You'll get instant access to parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So sign up today with the bonus code ATOZPA. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Brought to you by BetMGM Sportsbook, born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. Let's read out some of the words, man. Jim says awesome. Jim, exhausted. CJ says confusing. Ron says shocked. Gary says sloppy. Ryan Rose says shocked. Music says insanity. Dixie says breathe. Literally, you need to breathe. I just, unreal, man. Unreal. Rick says the Eagles defense stepped up a little from last week, held the top scoring offense to 12 points, so that's a positive. And I think that's probably the craziest part of this game, Rick, is that, you know, if they lost this game, you would have expected the Saints to probably score like 40 points. I mean, I was picking the Eagles to lose this game 34-24. I guess I got to pick against them every week now, but I didn't expect the Saints to score 12. I thought they were better than this, even if you don't believe in Derek Carr or Alvin Kamara. I mean, did Rashid Shaheed even touch the ball? He had 0 catches today. I didn't expect it to go like this. The Eagles defense, first and foremost, we'll start with the positives, okay? The Saints offense could not do anything on this defense. Vic Fangio did a wonderful job today. It started with what he said in the post game last week and throughout the week. He said, stop the run. The Eagles were able to stop the run. We finally saw the emergence of the defensive line. Now, Bryce Huff is still a ghost. I don't know where he's at. I don't even think he played. Barely saw him on the field. But I'm looking at Jalen Carter, who was disruptive. He stopped the run. He got into the backfield a couple times. And when Eric McCoy went down on the first drive for the Saints, you knew Carter was going to have an advantage. And he was able to get into the backfield and make some plays. And he just did a lot of different things to work around that Saints O-line. I thought he did a great job. Jordan Davis had a sack. Jordan Davis got a sack, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Davis got a sack. Finally. Jordan Davis got into the backfield and got a sack. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith was in there, made a couple good plays. The Georgia Bulldogs finally showed up. You had Zach Bond against his former team go for 13 tackles. He's been automatic every single week. Zach Bond's been wonderful. I thought Nakobe Dean had a couple nice tackles. We got to give credit to the defense, man. Even late in this game, I had a feeling they were going to, let up a little bit at some point. Darius Slay was locking guys up. He heard all the noise. He comes out of this game injured after a late unsportsmanlike penalty. Who was it? Penning for the Saints? He's blocking. He pushes him all the way into the damn bench. Hurts Darius Slay. Keely Ringo comes in, gives up a play to Olave. I think it was like 25 yards over the middle. I wrote it down somewhere. 29 yards to Chris Olave. And then, the Eagles gave up a touchdown. But ultimately, Reed Blankenship made the play of the game with an interception, and he sealed it. So I got to give credit to the defense. They gave up a couple plays late, but overall, it was night and day compared to the first 2 weeks and this game. So whatever Vic Fangio did or told his guys, I mean, you just held the Saints, who were averaging 45 points per game, to 12. So the defense did their job. Now let's talk about the offense. Actually, you know what? Before I get into the offense, because I know people are going to be mad. I know they're going to be in the chat. Like, RB, why are you attacking this team? They won. Listen, man, we got a lot to say about this game. The defense made plays. Vic Fangio did a great job. Who else should I highlight? On the defensive end? Quinyon gave up a couple plays. I thought he played well. He's still a rookie, still very young. Brandon Graham had a nice play late in this game. Kamara was, I think it was fourth down, right? And Brandon Graham kind of put his hand on his ankle, slipped him up a little bit. The Saints left points on the board today. So did the Eagles. But I thought Brandon Graham played a good game. And that's really all I got on the defensive side. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was talking that talk. First game, he finally gets to play against the Saints, and he lets up a huge play to Chris Olave. That was the touchdown. Gardner-Johnson was nowhere near him. He's nowhere to be found. So the defense still needs a little bit of work, but for doing what they did, the Saints had 9 drives in this game, and they were long drives too. If we go over here, we can look at them. They had some long drives in this game, even from the jump. 8-minute drive to begin this game. They had, 3.5 minutes there, 3.5. There was a couple late ones, 4.5. The Saints offense had scored on every drive that Derek Carr played so far this season in 2 games. They were 15 for 15. They come out, they put 3 points on the board, and the Eagles made them punt. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 punts in this game. So bravo by the defense. Eagles got the win because of the defense, okay? Now, time to talk about this offense, ladies and gentlemen. Give me all your thoughts in the chat. I'm just going to let it rip, okay? Saquon Barkley, bravo. Saquon Barkley, bravo. He finishes 17 carries in this game, 147 yards, the game-winning touchdown. The Eagles had 0 points in this game until Saquon broke off a heroic 65-yard touchdown. That was the play directly after Devontae Smith gets hit from behind. And yes, I have an issue with the officials, okay? I have an issue with the refs. If that was any other player in the NFL, it would have been a fine, probably a suspension. It would have been at least a damn flag. You're telling me, 1, the play doesn't get blown dead as Devontae is wrapped up by 2 defenders. And number 2, he gets blindsided. He is a defenseless receiver, and he gets cracked. His helmet comes flying off. He goes down. I thought he was unconscious. I thought he was knocked out. Luckily, he got up and walked off, but you could see he was dazed. He probably has a concussion. And you're telling me that's not a penalty flag? Unbelievable. And then the play later in the game where Slay gets pushed into the bench. Dirty play. No flags. No suspensions. No kicking these guys out of the game. Anyway. Saquon Barkley, bravo. If it wasn't for Saquon as well, the Eagles do not win this game. Saquon was tremendous again. He had the brutal drop last week. Saquon is probably responsible for winning every single game this season so far if he makes that catch last week. All right, Saquon did his part again. He is a game changer. That is why you go out and you pay Saquon Barkley. He had 4 catches for 9 yards, but he had 17 carries for 147 yards. And oh, by the way, did you guys know that Saquon didn't even touch the ball in the first quarter? You see where I'm getting, right? You see where I'm getting. But before I get there, I got to tip my cap to Dallas Goedert. How many weeks, ladies and gentlemen, how many games, how many seasons have we been up here talking about Dallas Goedert? All right. And I was ready to say after today's game, if Dallas Goedert did not get many targets or many catches in this game, I was ready to say some crazy, bold things about him. But today confirmed to me what I have thought. And I got to tell myself, RB, stick to your gut. Today confirmed to me what I have thought about Dallas Goedert for the last 2 seasons. He is not utilized enough. He is not schemed for enough. 10 catches, 170 yards. He had the 61-yard play at the end. Luckily, the Saints guys ran into each other, but Goedert made a huge play. He had the one-handed catch on 3rd down late in the game. He had another big play over his shoulder. Dallas Goedert needs to be a weapon that is utilized in this offense. He was incredible. 11 targets, 10 catches. 11 targets and 10 catches. Why is Dallas Goedert not used more? Why is the middle of the field not used more? He is such a good player, man. He has regressed since Zach Ertz got traded. He was actually better with Zach Ertz on the field, and he's a great blocker. He does all the great things a tight end does. He's shown us glimpses of being a top 5. He needs to be used more like he was today. He is a weapon on this team. Unbelievable game out of Dallas Goedert. Career high, 170 yards. His previous career high was 135. And, you need to scheme this guy open. Now we get to the things that people are not going to want to hear, and I understand if you want to give it in the chat. All right, I see a lot of people in here, a lot of different opinions, but I'm just going to speak my mind because that's what I do. All right, this Eagles team, let's be honest, okay? They didn't deserve to win this game. If it wasn't for a heroic Saquon performance and a crazy defensive stop there at the end, and just all game, just being consistent, being able to tackle on the first level, not letting Kamara, not letting Shaheed get out in these big plays. If it wasn't for a great defensive game plan and performance, the Eagles would have been blown away in this game. The offense was embarrassing. Kellen Moore's game plan is concerning, and Nick Sirianni just continues to make bad decisions for this team. I mean, they had 0 points at halftime. Okay. Why did they have 0 points? Well, for one, they left points on the board. I go back that the most confusing decision in this game is in the second quarter, late in the second. All right, you get it to a 4th and 1 at the Saints 15. At this point, you are down 3-0. You need points, right? 14 seconds left in the first half. You have one timeout, and the Eagles decide to line up for the brotherly shove. Now, if you want to argue with me about going for it in this situation, I completely get it. I'm fine with going for it. Number one, why don't you hard count in that situation? You did that a couple times last week. Why not go out there and try to draw the Saints off sides? Then you get to keep the timeout. You get a shot at the end zone. And if you don't get it, you can try another play, call your timeout. They don't hard count. They don't even do the play, aka the brotherly shove, that works 90+% of the time. They instead try to do a fake brotherly shove. They hand it off to Saquon after barely using him. Only 4 carries up to that point in the first half, in the second quarter only alone, and they get stuffed. They leave 3 points on the board. Terrible decision by Nick Sirianni. Terrible play call. I don't know if it was Kellen Moore. It looked like Nick Sirianni was the one calling that play, whispering in the ear of Jalen Hurts. Just a terrible decision by Nick Sirianni. Also in the first half, 2 big turnovers by Jalen Hurts. Now, he did clean it up a bit in the second half, but ladies and gentlemen, Jalen Hurts is concerning right now. The guy's turning the ball over way too much. Now, if you look at the stats today, you're going to say, wow, Jalen Hurts went 29 for 38. Jalen Hurts had 311 passing yards. He played a good game. No, he didn't. Jalen Hurts did not play a good game today. You can argue with me till you're blue in the face. Watch the game and not the box score. The offensive line did a tremendous job for Jalen Hurts. Lane Johnson goes out with probably what's a concussion, as they said. I mean, he was just vomiting everywhere. Mekhi Becton went out. So you got 2 backup linemen in Steen and Johnson on the right side. The offensive line did everything they could and more to save this game, opening up holes in the run game, but they created a lot of time for Jalen, and he missed a couple guys wide open, didn't see them. He ran around, took a lot of sacks he didn't need to take, but he made the 2 crucial turnovers again. I think it's now 7 straight games with a turnover. It's unprecedented, and it is concerning at this point. The fumble was the most concerning. He scrambles out to his left, gets hit from behind by Granderson, loses it. That was a Carson Wentz-esque fumble. And in terms of the interception, I put more of the blame on Devontae Smith. I thought he should have came back more on the route in the end zone. But you finally get down their territory. Do you know the Eagles got into the Saints' territory 4 consecutive possessions and came up with 0 points? I would like to know the last time that happened in a football game. The Eagles turn the ball over way too much, and you do it in the red zone where you just can't do it. Bad route by Devontae. Jalen should have made a better throw. Probably shouldn't have thrown it. So he turns the ball over twice. The fumble was absolutely brutal. I don't even know where they were at that point. Let me see if I have it in my notes. But, you just can't do that, man. That was in the second quarter. They were at the 40. They were at the 40, man. And then later in this game, when Nick Sirianni, so in the third quarter, they have it 4th and 3 at New Orleans 34. And instead of taking a 3 again, they decide to go for it. And what happens? Another sack, another blown 3 points possibility. So they give away 6 points. And then they finally decide to go for a field goal in the fourth quarter when they probably should go for it. 60 yards and Jake Elliott misses. I'm fine with giving Jake Elliott the opportunity, but you're at the 42-yard line, 4th and 11. Punt the ball, man. Your offense is doing nothing. Your defense is playing exceptional. And you go for a 60-yard. Like, Nick Sirianni has no rhyme or reason. The explanations he gave last week made no sense. I can't figure it out. Another thing that I have to criticize here is Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Kellen Moore in week 1 drew up a magnificent game plan. And you're telling me without A.J. Brown, that solely changes the entire scheme of the offense. I would say 70% of the plays I saw today were screens, throws in the flat to Saquon and Dallas Goedert. Luckily, these guys are playmakers, right? There was a few plays where they got going, couple slants, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. They finally took a couple shots, which is good. But the offense has to be way more fluid. The utilization of Saquon Barkley makes absolutely no sense. He had 5 carries in the first half for 17 yards. He came out in the second half and had 130 yards. Why? You gave him 12 carries. You finally used Saquon. I don't know why they were saving him in the first half. But he comes out and he's an absolute monster. This offense can run through Saquon Barkley. Kellen Moore has been very questionable. I mean, I'm just seeing a lot of bland, a lot of vanilla offense, man. I understand once Devontae goes down, you don't have the playmakers out there. You finally use Dallas Goedert, which is nice, but I just don't understand why it's so inconsistent from week to week with this offense. The Eagles played a sloppy game, man. They played a sloppy game, and it felt like they were going to lose this game until the Saints made a blunder and allowed Dallas Goedert to go for 61 yards. Do you guys agree, disagree? Give me your thoughts in the chat. I'm going to read out some comments. Definitely have more to go over here. At one point in this game, the Eagles had 285 yards of offense, and the Saints had 89. And the score at that point was 3-0 Saints. Eagles left so many points on the board. They left so many possessions on the board. The offense doesn't have any rhyme or reason. It doesn't make sense at all. It just feels like I'm watching Brian Johnson again. I just don't understand the lack of utilization for Saquon early in games. And you finally use Dallas Goedert. He had 7 catches, 80 yards in the first half. He only had 3 in the second half. They were big ones, of course. But where's Dallas Goedert been every single week? It should not be this inconsistent. And Jalen Hurts has to make better decisions with the ball and not turn it over. That's my take on this game. If you're super elated and super happy that they won this game, congratulations. But I'm not that happy. I'm really not that happy about this game. It was brutal to watch. You know what this game felt like, ladies and gentlemen? It felt like 2023, where they would sneak out a win, but they played awful. And everybody would be all up in the air, all so excited, till they collapsed. This is not a sustainable brand of football. This is not a sustainable brand of football. You cannot continue to play this way. And that's just my warning, okay? And the reason I'm saying these things, the reason I'm holding the team to this standard is because we expect them to be a Super Bowl contender. We expect them to be one of the best teams in the NFL. They can't continue to play this way. Nick Sirianni has terrible decision-making right now. And they're just, they're going for it when they shouldn't. They're not going for it when they should. If it wasn't for the heroic performances, again, I'll continue to say it, of Saquon and Dallas and some of the defensive linemen. I mean, we're questioning a lot after this game. If they had lost this game, and I don't think anybody can disagree with this, if they had lost this game 12-7, we would have been calling for Nick to be fired today or next week, potentially. Now, I know the Bucs were getting ran all over by the Denver Broncos. Maybe they're not that good either. Eagles got to win next week. They got to win next week. You have all this damn talent on this team. Now, I do want to step back and say one thing. The Eagles also have an injury issue, okay? AJ is out. Gardner Johnson was already banged up. You lose Devontae Smith. You lose Lane Johnson, Mekhi Becton, Britton Covey. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody else, but a lot of guys got injured in this game. Saints were down a couple linemen. By the way, shout out to my guy Cesar Ruiz, childhood friend of mine. Hope he's okay. I know he went out late in the game. I didn't expect the Eagles to win or lose like this, man. I didn't expect them to win or lose like this. But what a wild game here in New Orleans. Somehow they pull it out and they're 2-1. I want your thoughts in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. On a scale from 1 to 10, what is your confidence level in the overall Eagles team right now as they sit 2-1 after week 3? What is your overall confidence level in the Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, they scored 15 points. They barely scored that with a touchdown late in this game to win it. Are you happy with this team? Because I know I'm going to go listen to all the other stuff after this, and I'm going to do more research and things like that. But I know what I just saw with my own 2 eyes. I couldn't stomach this game. Are we really going to have people that are saying, oh, just be happy that they won? No, we can't do that anymore. We did that last year, and it bit us. It burned us. We can't do that anymore, man. We can't do that. We can't do that, man. CJ says, I'd love to believe it's on the players' timing and mistakes, but it's not. Coaching is doing this. Eric says they have talent, no consistency. No Saj says they should fire Sirianni before boarding the plane. Carl says definitely not a good game, but a damn good win. I can't agree with that. Stop complaining, but Nick should be fired. No, that's ridiculous, Carl. That's ridiculous. We're not going to do the fanboyism just because they luckily snuck out a win. They're playing terrible. 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 Music Lover says a 4. Timmy Turner says 10. KSF says -99. Phillips says 4 out of 10. Timmy says, I'm a true fan. A true fan's going to hold this team accountable and want to see them win, man. A true fan is going to realize when this team is not playing up to par and not up to standards or expectations. It's easy to see, man. It's very hard to be happy after this game. There's been a lot of games like this before, but this was one of the ugliest offensive concepts, game plans that I've seen. The quarterback has a turnover issue, and if it wasn't for 2 Saints players running into each other, this game would not have been won. We've gone through this way too many times, man. If we go to the team stats here, right? The Eagles had 460 yards of offense. Now, if I didn't tell you what the score was, and I told you they had 460 yards of offense, what do you think the final score would be? My guess would be like 36-10. They had 15 points, 460 yards of offense. They were averaging almost 7 yards per play. I mean, it's unreal, man. 172 yards on the ground. 2 big plays in this game. They won the time of possession. They won every category. They should have dominated this game. And there's just a lot of holes to fix. Now, the one positive looking forward at this team is that maybe their defensive line actually can play. Maybe their D-line actually does have some players, because we came into this game thinking, man, the offense can be fixed, but the defense is a lost cause at this point. Like, if these defensive linemen, if these former first-round picks don't step up, Eagles are in trouble, and there's not really an easy solution because we're only in week 2, week 3. But maybe the defensive line actually can play. Today showed me, going up against a potent offense, that they could actually make some plays. One other thing I want to highlight is that throughout the duration of this game, the Eagles did not quit. There were a lot of opportunities in this game where they could have just sat back and given up and said, you know what? We're playing terrible. The coaches are not putting us in a good position to succeed, kind of like last year, and they could have gave up. The players played hard. They did not give up, and I will give that to this team. That's what I saw personally. But the coaches have to do a much better job. Kellen Moore, like I said, we can blame Jalen and we can talk about the turnovers and the bad decision making, but how many times are we going to have Jalen Hurts under a new offensive coordinator that doesn't put him in position to succeed? I'm talking about getting your quarterback in a rhythm. I'm talking about little plays, just little easy concepts that can get this offense rolling when they're not playing well. But at the same time, you also can't throw 3-yard flat passes the entire game. You can't just do screens the entire game. You got to have a balance. You got to use the middle of the field. And the RPO without A.J. Brown is essentially nothing. It's like having a nice steamy meal and nothing to eat it with. You know what I mean? Throw it away. Throw it in the trash can. Jalen Hurts cannot make reads on the RPO, and without A.J. Brown, it's essentially nothing. They need to throw that away for now. But man, an absolute wild, chaotic game in New Orleans. I mean, the whole Eagles fan base was just, they were ready to just roll over and die, and somehow they get it done. Teresa says, not really confident in the offense. It can be fixed. Gary says 6.5. The game was a bad sign. Jerome says a win is a win. I can't say that today, man. It was a brutal game. I understand, but I don't. We got to hold these guys to a higher standard, man. Music says just keep Bryce Huff away from the field. Honestly, man. Honestly. CJ Gardner-Johnson talking in the locker room about the Saints. Quote, they're not contenders, they're pretenders. They have Derek Carr. Remember that. I like CJ Gardner-Johnson's, his mentality, his attitude, but he also did get burned for a touchdown. So maybe this is not the best time to be talking that talk. I do like CJ Gardner-Johnson, but I don't know, man. And here we go. We got confirmation. So I was right. I predicted it right. Nick Sirianni says it was his play call to go for it on 4th down at the end of the first half. I called the play. Kellen did not. That was my decision. That's what I thought was best for the football team. It did not work. So we have now learned what we already knew again, in that Nick Sirianni should not be calling plays. He gave up play calling duties in his rookie season to Shane Steichen. And what did Shane Steichen do? I actually said this while the game was going on. Shane Steichen made every game easy for Jalen Hurts. He made it easy for Jalen Hurts. Why do you think he schemed guys wide open? Why do you think, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, everybody had career years under Shane Steichen? Why do you think he's been great as a head coach? Because he knows how to scheme open offensive players. He knows how to make good play calls. Nick Sirianni does not. And I guess the question would then become, what does Nick Sirianni do? I don't know. He substitutes personnel. He's a rah-rah guy. He plays apparently Conor McGregor tape in the locker room the night before. What else does he do? Nick Sirianni's play call, this was the worst play call of the game. Like I said earlier, 4th and 1, you either try to hard count and get them to jump, or you do the brotherly shove, which works 90+% of the time. He should not be calling plays for this team. Kellen Moore probably had some type of play action drawn up or something like that, or Saquon up the gut, inside zone, and Nick Sirianni overrode that and made a brutal play call, which left points on the board. So no, I'm not happy with Nick Sirianni's decision-making. Heemy says, our defense played better than last week. Give them credit. Well, Heemy, I actually spent the first 10 minutes giving them credit. In fact, I'll do it again. The defense won this game. Maybe the biggest revelation from this game is that the defense actually finally can play. And they actually do have some guys up front that can stop the run. Stopping the run was the biggest part of this game because Alvin Kamara has been on an all-time run to begin this season, and he had 26 carries for 87 yards, less than 4 yards per carry. You held their biggest weapon in check. You didn't let him get going. You didn't let him punch one in. You didn't let him break off a 30 or 40-yard big bomb. The Eagles stopping the run was the first priority. And like I said, they didn't let Rashid Shaheed even touch the ball. No big plays in this game. They didn't let them utilize their explosive playmakers. Defense played great, but can they keep it up? We're going to have to see next week. They did it one game now. 2 bad games, 1 good game. Kirk says score would have been higher. Bad coaching decisions. Music Lover says the guy needs to accept being a game manager and stop calling the plays. I agree. I thought Jalen Carter, like I said, was a big MVP in this game, had a huge game. He was in the backfield multiple times, probably about 4, and he got to Derek Carr, hit him a couple times. Saquon Barkley is amazing, man. 132 yards in his first game, 116 in his second, and 156 total yards today. Saquon is why you go out and spend the type of money you do on a running back. He's a game changer. 5 touchdowns. Saquon is great, man. One of the best defensive performances I've seen from an Eagles team. Everybody contributed. Avonte and the nickel was great. Quinyon and Slay were locked down on the outside. They held a team, again, that was averaging over 40 points per game to 12 points. And how many yards of offense? What was it, like 100-something? 219? Eagles defense played incredible. They deserve credit, but now they have to replicate it and do it again. Jake says there was no benefit going for it at the half, especially with a run and 1 timeout. Yeah, I would have kicked the field goal. I understand going for it if you're going to do the shove and try to get a yard, but I still would have took the 3 points, especially when you had none on the board. Eagles put together a couple sustained drives, but again, the decision-making, the crucial timing of these decisions are hurting the Eagles, and Nick Sirianni or whoever it is needs to clean it up. Needs to clean it up. All right, I'll ask you guys another question in the chat, and we'll get to some of our final points here. But on a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are you after this win? Are you happy? Are you one to say, let's just put it away and we're going to be fine going forward? Are you concerned? Give me your thoughts in the chat. On a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are you after this win? Like I said, I'm happy that they got the win, that they're 2-1, because I think that definitely saves your season a bit going forward. But I am frustrated in that it has to look a lot better. Has to look a lot better. We're holding this team to a high standard because we want them to be a Super Bowl contender, because they should be. Not many games in the NFL can you go 4 straight possessions into the opposing territory, not come up with any points, and still win. Eagles lost the turnover battle today. Still won. Not many games in the NFL do you lose the turnover battle and still win. Woody says 8. Eric says 6. So many things to work on. Teresa says 7. Joe says it's a win, period. Joel says 4. Teresa says only because of the defense. L. Smiley says 7. Robert says, I don't care what the coaches do. Just win. That was a great win. Brown will be back. We will roll. Well, AJ might be back, but now Devontae could be out. Lane Johnson, Becton, a lot of injuries stacking up. A lot of injuries stacking up. I can't say that was a great win. Not by any means. I cannot say that's a great win because, again, that's what we did last season. They were 10-1. We were trying to look through it, and then they folded. They collapsed. A long season. Long season. Looks like the Giants won, I think. They were up 21-7, so at least the Eagles will remain in front of the Giants. Like I said, I also got to tip my hat to Fred Johnson and Tyler Steen for stepping in and holding their own. Especially when two guys on the same side of the line go down, it's tough to hold up, man. So I got to give them credit. And I know it's a tough thing to sit here and be like, oh, well, you know, they won, but it wasn't good. It looked terrible. I just hope that this win motivates them, that they can still be a good team, and that they can clean these up. They got to clean a lot of issues up. Need more consistency as an entire unit, as an entire team. And that's my overall takeaway on the game. And I know a lot of people may not agree with me, but that's how I feel. And I want them to clean it up. Music says 5 out of 10. 2-1 is better than 1-2, but the coaching is a big time issue until the guy loses his ego. Gary says 6.5. Need more consistency. See what happens when AJ comes back. Brian says 7.5. Worried about our receiving core without Smitty and AJ. I agree. If Smitty can't go next week and AJ's still out, there's a lot of trouble, man. If they cannot play, both of them, Eagles are in trouble. Dave says concerned for a long time. Fan since 7, now 55. AJ says offense would look better with AJ. Sucks that all these injuries happen. Sue says 5. AJ says defense inconsistent. Looking way better right now. Hope AJ comes back. Eric says we haven't had a good win in a while where they actually convince us they can be consistently good. I would agree. I agree with Eric. I do think they'll look a lot more polished with AJ, but again, just the routes that these guys are running, it doesn't seem fluent. Just because one guy goes out doesn't mean the entire scheme of the team should change. And it still doesn't mean that you shouldn't use Saquon Barkley early in the game. They need to let Saquon dictate these games. I know Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman want to be a passing team, and they want, they want it to look pretty. They want the big bombs down the field. Let Saquon carry this offense, man. Saquon is so damn good. If I had to give MVPs out today, ladies and gentlemen, actually, one more question in the chat. Who's your MVP of the game? Who's your MVP of the game? There's probably about 4 I could hand out, but I'm giving it to Saquon and the defensive line. Defensive line shut down the run. They shut down Kamara, didn't let him get going, and Saquon broke us out of that spell. I thought the Eagles were going to get shut out at one point in this game, and Saquon breaks off a 65-yarder after Devontae goes down. That's how you pick up your teammates, man. So my MVP offensively would be Saquon, and defensively would be the guys up front, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. They did a great job. They did a great job. Paul says Baltimore 14-3. I got Baltimore winning today for sure. CJ says, I think it's confusing. Nick will override. That messes up Jalen Hurts. Gary says Saquon for MVP. Woody says Jalen Carter. Sue says the defense gets it. Music Lover says Goedert is my MVP. Catch after catch. Big game for Dallas Goedert. And hopefully this once again wakes up the coaches to realize that they have a really good weapon to use over the middle of the field. Dallas Goedert can do this every week. I hope he does not disappear next week. Joel says Saquon the defense and Dallas Goedert MVP. Sue says defense. Big time performance out of these guys, man. Somehow the Eagles get it done. They win it 15-12 in improbable fashion. A touchdown with 1:01 to go. And Reed Blankenship comes up with his second pick of the season, makes the game-winning play. Eagles are 2-1 somehow. We'll just have to see what happens next week. But if they can win next week, I'm a lot happier. Got to clean it up. This is the A to Z Sports Philly post-game live show. I'm RB. Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, love me, hate me, whatever, I thank all of you for always tuning into the show right here after every Eagles game. We'll have videos and all that out more as well on our YouTube channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. But nonetheless, we all can agree that the Eagles are 2-1 and have a chance to get another big win next week against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Very weird season so far in the NFL. The Texans lose 34-7 today to the Vikings. Darnold and the Vikings now 3-0. You had the Buccaneers lose 26-7 to Bo Nix. I mean, there's not a lot of surefire teams right now. There's not a lot of surefire teams. Eagles should be able to beat the Buccaneers next week. They should be able to beat Baker Mayfield. The Bucs showed today they're not as good as everybody thought they should be or could be. Eagles should want that revenge from the playoff game. So we'll see what they do, man. But once again, appreciate everybody tapping in. A to Z post-game show presented by BetMGM. Once again, use our code ATOZPA. Check them out. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday, man. Catch y'all on the next one. Good night, everybody.